not view this as an end, but a beginning of a new way of working as a relationship between us. And I look forward to working with you and continuing to work to advance the goals of the city and the transformational change we can accomplish under your leadership at the board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Commissioner Lehr, you'd like to say that?
Well, it's truly not a goodbye. I admire you and appreciate so much what you bring to the table, and as a mother, a grandmother, a leader, and a woman, really believing, and it's you know, your commitment is so palpable, and you're incredibly well-spoken and thoughtful in your initiatives, and I'm going to miss you. Even though we're going to see you, but still, I'm going to miss you. And so thank you, and may there be many other family members that I know might be joining leadership opportunities, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barad Hopkins, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Well, I hate to say goodbye. I don't deal well with separation. If you want proof of that, just ask my last husband. We'll confirm that. But I really hate to see you go. I hate to say goodbye. I just have enjoyed being with you and seeing your face, and it's just, it seems too soon to see you go. And would love to have you here longer. I love your compassion and the way you really talk about the people from different areas, and that they need to be well served. And I think that that's important, and I think that that keeps us on point and on track. And I think that that's very helpful for all of us to be kept on track that way. And I wish you every good luck and good fortune in life. Now that I've met your grandchildren, you've got your hands full, and they are really cute. But I hope to see you soon, and that we can continue our friendship.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We do have a couple of special guests we would like to say a few comments. The first is Heidi Hiroka from the Water System on behalf of Aspire. Heidi?
Thank you, Marty.
Take your mask off if you like. We can hear you better.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm better.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Heidi Hiraoka, and I'm here on behalf of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders supporting progress, inclusion, respect, and empowerment, also known as Aspire. Thank you. So, Commissioner Reyes, I just want to thank you so much for, and congratulate you, and thank you so much for your support and encouragement. About a year ago now, you had sponsored the API month that brought Asian American Pacific Islander issues, culture, community to the forefront. And that really planted the seed for Mandy Ang and Sunny Cho, inspired them to think that they really could start a group for this. And here we are a year later, and we are on our way to being a bona fide ERG. Sadly, we have a lot of events planned for May, and we're going to miss you for that, but we hope that you'll be able to come back and join us. I also want to say that thank you. I've seen firsthand what you can do back when we worked and you were with the low-income group. You had sheer determination and commitment and passion and no staff, and you were able to do workshops that really helped people. And I was one of the lucky voluntold that were able to help you with that. So Public Works is so lucky to have you there. And although we're going to miss you, I know that you are also working on AAPI issues there. And so, again, I agree, this is not goodbye. I want to stay in touch, we'll be in touch with you, and we hope that we can do joint activities. And just know that your Aspire and LADWP family will always be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. And next we have P. Joy Chua from the Power System on behalf of the Filipino American employees of LADWP.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today and join in honoring Board Vice President SUSANA Reyes. I am P. Joy Chua, Assistant Director for Transmission Planning, Regulatory, and Innovation Division in the Power System. Like Commissioner Reyes, I was born and raised in the Philippines. I am a longtime dedicated public servant and a proud woman in LADWP. Commissioner Reyes, I hope that you realize that your trailblazing efforts as the first Filipino American on this board have inspired me and many of the over 600 Filipino Americans in our department. Through your work, we as a culture and community has benefited by becoming more seen, more understood, and more included. For example, last year's Filipino American History Month celebration and the panel that you hosted with Dr. Joe Bernardo, in just an hour spent with many of our colleagues, we were able to learn and raise awareness about the Filipino American struggles in American history, celebrate our resilience, and also promote our contributions to the society. That panel was invigorating and empowering, and many of us are so proud. Just like you, our exemplary work, leadership, and representation has left a long-lasting impact on all of our communities. Commissioner Reyes Public Works is very lucky to have you. We are proud of you and for everything that you have accomplished and wish you the best. Maraming salamat at mabuhay ka, which translates to thank you very much, and live well, live long, and live strong. Thank you.
Thank you, P. Joy. Now, we could never let you get away without a few memorabilia to take with you, because you have to have something for your new office over there. And so, and I know you get an office over there because you have to be there a lot. So first, Reiko Kerr would like to present something on behalf of the Power System.
Thank you. So I have my favorite one-armed post-surgery lineman helping with this presentation.
Yeah, Brian, you're in trouble.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your dedicated years of support on this board. As an insider, you know inside baseball and how to get things done efficiently. You are a fierce advocate for our customers. And on behalf of the Power System, thank you so much for all you've done for the 4 million residences and businesses of Los Angeles. You truly made a difference from an equity, sustainability, diversity, and cultural perspective. As Heidi and P. Joy both said, the Board of Public Works is so fortunate to have you. We will sincerely miss you and your service here. We are an industry of acronyms, but you have coined a new one, EWBAL, Equity Warrior and Badass Leader. So on behalf of Power System, we'd like to present this commemorative lamp to you, and thank you for your dedication and preparation as a public servant on this board. And Mr. Wilbur.
Right. So, Vice President Reyes. So we have a saying in the Power System, nothing is too good or too bad for too long.
This is the man with the
it's kind of our way of saying that change is inevitable. But we want to thank you for the changes that you've made when you came onto this board, and the positive changes and the inspiration that you've been for the people here, and especially the Power System. And we wish you the best in the changes that we know that you're going to make in your future endeavors. So in recognition of your dedicated leadership and service as Vice President of the Los Angeles Board of Water and Power Commissioners, we thank you for your commitment to excellence. And we'd like to present you with this meter clock. So thank you very much.
Should I take a picture with her?
Sure, absolutely.
Rachel, come on. I didn't carry that with his broken arm.
It was heavy.
Sure, you get Brian's arm out of the picture there.
Do you see it? Oh, it's heavy.
All right. Okay, here's the first one. Let's see how we look in here. Let's do that again. Okay, here we go. And one more time. That's good. That's it right there. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Is that all right? Thank you.
Yes, nobody makes lightweight gifts here, that's for certain. And speaking of that, out of brass, we have, someone Collins has a gift from the water system.
Come over here if you don't mind. Oh, thank you, Raz.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Yeah, we do pull out all the toys here, so you can't be outdone by the power system, so we got to come up with something. It's good competition. So, Commissioner, first of all, I want to let you know that I really appreciate all the time that we work together. First, when you were a department employee many, many moons ago, and now as a board vice president. It's been nothing but a joy to work with such a professional. You know, when I was thinking about all the things you've done, you know, when it comes to leadership in the water industry and providing us with clear direction and directives on what to do, to your involvement with diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have been a champion for all the employee resource groups, not just the Asian American group or the Filipino group, for all the groups. And believe me, everybody has noticed that. And they really do appreciate your efforts and your support of every single one of these groups. But also, all the work that you've done more recently, I would say, with the tribal, you know, groups in the Owens Valley, the tribal nations up there, all the work you've done in forging a path for us to move forward and hopefully bring the department and the tribes closer together in working in harmony. So for that, I want to thank you very much. So I look forward to working with you now that you're going to be in the Board of Public Works. I have a feeling that we're going to cross paths quite many times.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to that. So what I have here today is a very special gift that it is a clock that's made out of a meter. Now, this particular meter was in service. So to prove that, I actually have the certificate of authenticity.
All right.
That's been signed by the Director of Water Distribution. So this particular meter, just to let you know, was actually installed back in 1989 and taken out of service recently. And it actually served at 161 West 46th Street. Okay. So that basically tells you that this is, just like you, a viable member of the water system.
Thank you.
So I will leave the little certificate for you. And I also want to let you know that, you know, I really have appreciated also taking the time to know you as a person. I recall the last time we went up to the Owens Valley, we had a long conversation during the holidays about the family, and you talk about the best place to get a good lechon.
Yes.
See, remember that.
Correct.
So on behalf of the water system familia, I want to say thank you for your service and your leadership.
Thank you so much.
And so I just want to make sure so we don't have any lawsuits. That meter was replaced with another meter. It wasn't just taken out of service. Just clarify that for us.
Thank you, Councilor, for clearing that up. Yes,
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Want to take a photograph?
Yes.
Maybe go over there. We don't want to compare, so.
They're heavy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well,
Scoot over a little bit.
Oh,
Yes. Up here?
over here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, here's the first one. Yeah, we look here. Trim a little bit. Here we go again.
I'm getting tired here. Come on.
All right, that's good. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anselmo. And last but certainly not least, from your home when you were here at Water and Power and our joint services, Nancy Sutley has a gift created by our own graphics department and the folks at the LaCretz Innovation Campus. And her and the energy efficiency staff and customer services put this together for you. So Nancy?
Well, thank you, and I join all of everyone here today in thanking you for your service and being able to present this. But we really wanted to, on behalf of everyone in the sustainability group and in customer service, you stepped in and helped us really move forward important initiatives around low income and on our comprehensive, affordable, multifamily retrofit program, which we're going to rename after you. And your work in the mayor's office on EVs and other things as part of the sustainability team. Everyone here has spoken of your public service, but you are truly one of the great leaders in sustainability here in Los Angeles, both as an employee of the city, as a commissioner, and in your time in Sierra Club, really pushing LA to be more sustainable. And I know you will be able to do more with that at Public Works. By the way, I submitted a 311 request around illegal dumping in my neighborhood, so if you get right on that.
Noted.
But, so this plaque, as Marty said, was made at the LaCretz Innovation Campus that I know you've spent a lot of time at in the Advanced Prototyping Center out of a block of reclaimed wood designed by our own in-house graphics department, and on behalf of the energy efficiency staff who worked on this as well. And everybody here, we wanted to say thank you. And also, just in case the lights go out at City Hall, we have some LED battery backup lamps that you can use in an emergency. We've got a couple of them here.
Thank you.
So you'll be all set for your time on the Board of Public Works. But on behalf of everyone, I'll say on behalf of everyone in the Joint System, we really appreciate all that you've done and all that you will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to take a photograph of Nancy?
Skyline. Wonderful.
Big smile. And one last one. Oh, that's good, right there. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. So before I ask if you have any final comments you'd like to say, it's my turn just to add a little bit. And there's a lot of things been said, and they're all very true. But on behalf of all the employees here, I want to thank you. I think Commissioner BARAD Hopkins mentioned how passionate you were, and I think that's the one thing that strikes us all is that the passion you've brought to the things that you care about and have taught us that we need to care about as well. Both, from our customer standpoint, to really care about all of our customers and meet them where they're at, and to do a better job of that, and to really see ourselves as a critical service organization for our employees that I think because you grew up in the ranks here, you understood us, and you've really emphasized how critical our employees are, and made everyone feel so special, and especially to the women you've inspired here to continue in their leadership roles and to grow in those areas. It's everything you do and say is so heartfelt and so inspirational, and I think that the passion that you've brought to the things that matter, to areas of issues of the environment and the people we serve, has been a lesson for us all, and I think it's really sunk in. And I'm sorry to see you go. It's a much shorter career than your first one here, but although I wouldn't want to wish anyone 30 years on the board, but not for free. I wish we had you for longer. I think we all do here across the board. But we're glad that you broke another barrier in your series of firsts in LA, and we know that you aren't far away, and we know that you'll have our backs over at City Hall. And we promise to be a good partner in all the things that you want to do moving forward. So on behalf of everyone here, I just want to thank you so much. for making a second career here on top of your first very meaningful career and setting us on such a good path. So thank you again and congratulations in your new role. I hope it's as rewarding as this one has been. So I'll turn it back to you.
I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude and love to my LADWP family. You are family to me, and I will never be otherwise. Even though I'm moving to City Hall, I can see you, I can see the building, and you can, as Nicole said, now you can look down on me because I'll be on the third floor. What I said. But I do expect a lot more intersectional work, being on the Board of Public Works, because all of our projects, deal with infrastructure and infrastructure requirements and permitting and all that, and that's the Board of Public Works. And I will do my best to ensure that there is, more communication among the bureaus and our LADWP. Of course, I will have that sort of like a little bit biased thing, right? Because I came from here. I'm a retiree from DWP, spent so many years here. And the one thing that I will really miss are the people, all the employees who have written to me and talked to me about and thanking me for the work that I've done, which I could not have done without the support of all my colleagues here on the board and all the executive support that we have done and all our allies and partners on the ground. So thank you for that. My achievements are not mine alone, they're everyone's, and they will live by that. The legacy is because we have worked together and we have really, really looked forward to creating a vision for our city of Los Angeles, especially because we are the largest municipal utility in the nation. And we need to be out there, to be competitive, to be innovative and bold. And I still expect that to be happening. And even though I'm sitting at another desk or another commission post, I will always ensure that there is that synchronized effort, right, towards a more livable, sustainable city of Los Angeles. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and privilege. Thank you.
Madam Vice President, I think you may want to take up item L. Has that been passed already?
So I'd like a photo with the general manager and the commissioners, because we haven't had a photo yet.
Yeah.
We'll take our photo.
Yes.
And thank you, President McCLAIN-HILL, for joining us this morning, for taking the time. Thank you so much. Nice to see you on the screen. We look forward to seeing you back in LA.
Thank you, President McCLAIN-HILL. I love you.
Yeah, we can move your chair.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay. I love your hair. Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Let's move it where if you want
Oh, you want to get centered on the art?
Yeah, on that. I'll take the commission, the resolution. All right.
Move this one just a little bit.
Push it right on
You're
our
right
iron.
in the middle here. There we go.
You let us know.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, right. All right, here we go. All right. Okay, here's the first one. Good smile. Let's see how we're looking here. Okay, here we go again. Good smile. Another one. And one last one. Big smile. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is really beautiful.
I guess it's,
They all are, yeah.
I guess it's my comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we now resume a normal agenda item. We're going to go to item number D, which is the report or briefing by the general manager and chief engineer, Marty Adams.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief. So just a couple keynote, important things to note. Last Saturday, we had our annual Nature Day event at Chatsworth Reservoir. It was the first time in 3 years we'd had a chance to be there. Commission Vice President SUSANA REYES was there and was interviewed by EPRI, who was there doing some work on pollinators and a story involving Department of Water and Power efforts. The Chatsworth Reservoir has a long history. It was built in 1919, and somewhere, I can't remember which year, it became Chatsworth Nature Preserve. It's about 1,400 acres in the West San Fernando Valley of untouched, largely untouched habitat. And it's home to a number of species. I understand from photographs I saw that they saw a rare, I think, a red-breasted cuckoo. That's an endangered species, was on site and was able to be photographed. When we started the event, there were probably about 1,000 people in attendance when we started. The staff estimated there were more than 2,000 people that attended that day. And so it was a great event, and we're looking for not only our annual event, but also opportunities to open up for other maybe seasonal events during the course of the year to celebrate all 4 seasons at the reservoir. We also had a blessing by one of the Native American tribes that Chatsworth Reservoir was part of their home centuries ago, and so they had a blessing and prayers to start the day off, and it was a very good day, and we had a lot of staff here that showed up as well. So I want to let the board know that was a great success. Anselmo is going to give us a very quick update on water supply and snowpack and just what's on tap. We want to just give a few words about what's going on with the latest situation.
Yes, thank you, Marty. So good morning, commissioners. Once again, at your last board meeting, we provided you with an update on the poor supply and the storage conditions in the state, and also the limited capabilities that Metropolitan Water District has to move water in their system to cover our entire service area. The record drought conditions and limited supplies from the state water project, combined with the lack of conveyance infrastructure that I mentioned before, are basically not adequate for us to be able to have access to all the water that we need here in Los Angeles. The state water project dependent areas of MWD's service territory are all impacted. And unfortunately, the state of LA happens to be one of those 6 agencies that's impacted by this. In the coming months, the State Department of Water Resources will be delivering health and safety supplies to the state water project dependent areas, which includes the city of LA. MWD plans to augment the state's health and safety supplies with MWD supplies through its limited capacity to deliver to the impacted agencies. However, even with these supplies, there's still a significant supply-demand gap. As a result of the forecast gap, MWD is proposing by its board today, actually, to reduce the demands and preserve remaining supplies in the dependent areas by doing 2 things. The first one is declaring a water shortage emergency condition exists in the state water dependent areas. The other is to adopt a framework for an emergency water conservation program for the state water dependent agencies to reduce their demands or face penalties for not staying within their allocation. It is anticipated that enforcement of MWD restrictions will start on June 1st, 2022. As for process, when the MWD board approves this action, I will be conferring with the general manager on our recommendations to go to a higher phase of the City of LA's Emergency Water Conservation Plan. And Marty will finalize his recommendations to the mayor. It will then be up to the mayor to independently evaluate such recommendation and then through public proclamation, order that the appropriate phase of our Emergency Water Conservation Plan ordinance be implemented. And that concludes my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Anselmo.
May I ask some questions?
Yes, certainly. Go right ahead.
Okay.
In 2014, did Met do a comparable order during that period, that drought period? Or not 2014 particularly, but have they issued this previously? And I would imagine in 20.
I don't believe this has ever been done before.
Okay. And what does enforcement mean?
Enforcement mean ensuring that the customers are sticking to whatever, conservation requirements are set. For example, if it's limiting the number of days to water, the agency is responsible for ensuring that people are complying with the days that they're supposed to limit only.
Okay. And then this recent rain that we received, I understand there was quite a bit of snow in the mountains. Did that improve our situation at all noticeably?
It improved it a little bit. I can speak to the Eastern Sierra, which is where the LA Aqueduct gets its water. And we received, I think in the Mammoth Mountain area, approximately 15 inches of snow. That translated into 1 inch of water, and that's it. So it was nice to see it, but not a whole lot to make a big difference in the water supply picture.
Okay. And is there anything that we should be preparing as a board as it relates to Met's upcoming decision?
I think as a board, what's going to happen, Commissioner, is that we will recommend to Marty, who will then recommend to the mayor. But I think for us moving forward, it will be the board sending a clear message to all our customers that we need to comply with the water conservation ordinance. The City of LA residents have done a great job conserving. As you well know, we currently are in phase 2, which limits watering to 3 days a week. So we already have seen, a great commitment by our customers. And what we're asking is that they redouble that commitment and that it go further into water conservation. So I think a clear, consistent message by the board is really what's going to be important.
Okay. And then have we increased, I see Joe over there, have we increased our messaging, or will we increase them that much further?
Yes, Commissioner, at the last meeting when we did discuss this and explain that we would be launching significant customer communications, both paid and earned in social media, to make customers aware of the new regulations when they go into effect.
Okay, so you're still in the waiting part.
We have actually, we began a whole advertising campaign about $750,000 late last fall. Some of that messaging is still out there and still in our communities. We continue to push earned media opportunities. Every time we put out a press release on the drought, we get requests for interviews, and Samuel's done a whole bunch. His staff as well have been very cooperative. Univision just called late yesterday, wants us for either today or tomorrow. So we're maximizing as much free media as we possibly can to get on the airwaves, both radio, TV, and then also and then maximizing also our social media, waiting for these new regulations if and when they come to then push them out. We're looking at late May into June to start pushing that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Anselmo. Next, Nancy's going to tell us a little bit about our participation in the Better Climate Challenge with the Department of Energy. Nancy.
Thank you. So we have joined the Department of Energy's Better Climate Challenge, which is a commitment to cut our facilities' carbon emissions in half in the next 10 years. And we have participated in a number of other challenges from the Department of Energy through the Better Buildings kind of structure they have there. The water system has participated in the Better Plants Challenge, which was aimed at industrial facilities, and now we are joining this climate challenge for our own facilities. We've also been a Better Buildings Challenge utility ally since 2012. So the kind of the umbrella of the Better Buildings Challenge is nationwide, challenging building owners to reduce, to cut their energy use and cut their greenhouse gas emissions. So we've been pleased to participate in a number of the efforts around under the umbrella of the Better Buildings Challenge. So this is the latest one, and we're excited to do that. And they will post our facilities' carbon emissions on the Department of Energy's website. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Once again, LA was named the top solar city in the U.S. I think this is 8 out of the last 9 years. As well as that, we're also named a solar superstar, which the criteria is to have average of 100 watts or more of solar PV capacity installed per capita. And we actually have 160, almost 167 watts per person installed per capita across the U.S., across the city, which is almost 650 megawatts of solar capacity total. So we're very proud of that designation, and we plan to continue to stay #1 by continuing our solar programs and really encourage rooftop solar feed-in tariff programs, and also our utility installed solar as well. I would like Brian Wilbur to briefly present a very short video. We have advertising our Lyman Rodeo that's coming up in a couple of weeks on Saturday, the 14th is the date, correct? So go ahead, Brian, roll the video.
On May 14th, we are continuing. We haven't had a rodeo since 2019. So we're putting on our Lyman's Rodeo again. It's sponsored by LADWP and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 18. This is the first one we've had for a while, so we're really looking forward to it. If you haven't been to one, come out and see it. It's a great time for everyone to come. There's food. There's a lot of activities there. Our engineering group has put on a science center, so there's a lot of activities for kids, a lot of projects that are there. Petting zoos, climbing walls, plenty of food. It's a good time to come out and see the competition between us and a lot of the local utilities. And we've had utilities coming as far as Manitoba and Saskatoon in Canada. We have teams coming from the Navajo Nation this year. So we're really looking forward to the competition and to the event.
Can you say where it is, Brian?
When and where?
It's at our Truesdale Training Center in Sun Valley.
It's right next to Valley Generating
Adjacent to the Valley Generating Steam Plant.
Right.
Next to what?
Next to Valley Generating Plant.
And
Yeah,
when,
right around the
when
corner.
will you do that? When is it?
May 14th. Right. May 14th. And now we have a quick
We have a
little
brief video
promotional
here.
video. Like you said, if you haven't been to one, come out. It's a great event to come out and see, and for the line workers to be able to really show what they do on a daily basis. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
It's also a very family-friendly event, so
Is-
you can bring your family.
Yeah, it's great for kids.
Yeah.
They have a petting zoo and everything. It's a great event.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And really showcases the industry and what the jobs are all about. And so last but certainly not least, we'd like to recognize one of our employees in Selma has a 40-year pin to give out.
40.
To Larry,
Yes.
Chris Troutman, who I was going to say, I see Lawrence Troutman. I thought, well, no one knows Chris my whole life. So, in Selma, would you like to want to go to the podium to do that?
Sure, I'll do it over there.
That'd be great. Chris, would you like to join him here?
Good morning, Commissioners, once again. It is my honor to present this 40-year pin, service pin to Mr. Lawrence A. Troutman, Jr. for his service to the State of LA and the Department of Water and Power specifically. Mr. Troutman, who, as Marty said, is affectionately known as Chris, started his career in the water system on December 8th, 1980. At that time, he was a construction equipment service worker. Chris has been promoted to increasingly and more responsible positions in the water system as a mechanical helper, a water utility worker, a waterworks mechanic, a senior waterworks mechanic, and a waterworks mechanic supervisor. And in November of 2020, he became the senior waterworks mechanic supervisor. Chris has an outstanding knowledge of the mechanical equipment that's used in treatment operations throughout the entire state of LA and has assisted or led repairs and or maintenance of such treatment equipment for Water Operations Division for over 33 years. Chris is considered an expert in troubleshooting, repairing, and maintaining water treatment mechanical equipment. Chris has decided to retire on May 1st, and on behalf of the management of this department, I also would like to thank and commend Chris for his pending retirement as a highly dedicated, motivated, employee-oriented, senior supervisor who embodies LADWP's values of professional excellence, leadership, and commitment to safety, and extends our best wishes to him and his wife and the rest of the family for a productive, healthy, and long retirement. And I could tell you that before I even saw Chris today, I knew that sometime in the near future, he will be, enjoying a nice exotic vacation in some kind of warm, exotic place. I guess Hawaii, because that's where his daughter lives. but I guess he's got some other plans and then hit Hawaii. And you can see he's dressed for the occasion already. You know, and I can tell you from a personal note, I've known Chris for the last 8-9 years when I was assistant director in water operations. And the one thing about Chris that I always appreciated, he's very direct and honest with you, very respectful, but his knowledge, especially the filtration plant, there are probably nobody else in his classification that knows as much about what happens there. And whenever we have issues, everybody goes to Chris to get the answer. So we're going to miss you tremendously, Chris. Congratulations on your retirement. I'm going to give you your pretty cool 40-year pin, which has 4 diamonds. So you get to wear this then when you retire and you're sitting on the beach in Hawaii. Yeah, right? Just make sure you wear a shirt when you pin it on, okay?
Oh, yeah, Don't see many of those pins.
Chris. You have a couple of words?
I know you all got the blank look in your face. My birthday is Christmas Day.
All right.
So that's where Chris comes from. It's been an honor working here. Thank you guys for allowing me to have this. It's the best place to work. And as you said, Ms. Reyes, it's family. And it's hard to leave this. But thank you very much, and it's an honor.
Thank you. Congratulations.
That concludes my report. Unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions from the general manager's report? Seeing none, let's go to item number E. I am not aware of any introductions of motions for future consideration. For item F, any comments from our ratepayer advocate on any of the agendized items?
As appropriate, we will have comments on the management reports and other items if questions arise.
Thank you. On item G, Madam Secretary, do you have are there any discussion with our neighborhood council representatives?
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on any of the items on today's agenda.
Thank you. We move to item H, consideration of items for approval. We have items.
Do you have to recuse yourself on 3? Or did we take care of that already?
I think we took care of it already. Yeah. Thank you. So it's items 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Any items that we want to pull for discussion?
None this time.
None. So our items for approval are items L1 and L2. Do we have any motion to approve L1 to L2?
So moved.
I second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Reyes.
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes. Motion passes.
Thank you. So we move to management reports. We have 2 reports. One is the presentation regarding surface water treatment compliance and our injury rates and reduction strategies. Do we have any comments about those reports? Fred, do you have any comments on that? Hearing none, we move to filed items, which if there are any other comments on the filed items. Okay, and then we move to our minutes, which is going to be a recommendation for approval of the minutes of the March 22nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Were all of the, Madam Secretary, were all of the commissioners present at that meeting?
They were.
Okay, so we take the vote on that one, please.
Sure.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd, 2022?
So moved. I was just wondering why we were behind 1, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion. I second. Go ahead. Take the vote.
Vice President Reyes.
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
So I'm going to go back to the management reports. The presentation regarding surface water treatment rule compliance. Who's going to present, Marty?
That's going to be Ras Manukian, who is the Director of Water Quality. So Ras, if you can make your way to the table. So Commissioners, this presentation is to give this board an overview of a program that the water system has been working on for about 25 years. So most of us who've been here that long have all had a say and some kind of real involvement in achieving this goal. So today, Mr. Manukian is going to present to you what we did in all these last 25 years and how we're in compliance with these rules that were enacted by the EPA. I also wanted to just mention, since today seems to be a day of goodbyes, that this will probably be the last time that Mr. Manukian will be here, since he will be retiring after 34 years with the department on June 1st.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yes. So a big piece of my team is walking out the door soon. So
I don't know. It seems like every one of these meetings we've had, this is the last time we're meeting people.
Yes.
We need to start seeing, look at all these new people. Not because we don't want but we just.
Well, luckily enough, we already selected his replacement. I believe you met him at the last board meeting, Jonathan Leung. Jonathan, if you could stand up for a second. So Jonathan is currently the Deputy Director for Water Quality. On June 1st, Jonathan will be taking over as Director. Jonathan has over 8 years of experience in that division, so I think the division will be in great hands. But I do want to tell Ras, thank you for your service. We worked together for most of his career, and it's always been a pleasure, especially in the last several years. We've done a lot of work together. So without further ado, Ras, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. Wow, a combination retirement and do presentation. It's been great, but I'll save that for the retirement.
Yeah.
Get close to the mic. Okay, thank you. So, Chris, congratulations. Chris has worked with me. He's trained many engineers, and I'm one of those. And the Chatsworth Reserve, I used to do that with 50 people in the early 90s. So today I'm going to talk about the surface water treatment rule, regulations, and projects we did, and it's going to be quick and interesting and how the customers have benefited. Let's get right to it. So that's my agenda. I'm going to go fast. Here's the regulations over the last 100 years. As you can see, in 1914, there was 2 regulations, and now we're looking at 120, and you can see the curve in the last 30 years is steep, and we had to comply with a lot of reservoirs and facilities. The blue represents state regulations, and the gray represents federal regulations. And the most significant one in the middle is the Safe Drinking Water Act, which I'll talk about shortly. So here's an example, a picture 100 years ago. They were drinking from common water cups from the fountain and found out that you're passing on diseases when you do this. So the first, and this is so relevant today with the COVID business. So the first regulation that passed was let's not drink from the same cups. You know, chlorine, 1974 Safe Drinking Water Act. Chlorine has been a miracle cure in the 20th century. And we chlorinated up to 1987 when we built our filtration plant. So all we were doing is settling particles in reservoirs and just adding chlorine. In 1987, we built our state-of-the-art filtration plant, improving water quality. And I do want to say in the 80s and 90s, when we first started, we did a lot of cement lining. As you can see the pipe right there, how we improved that, and that's taken it to the customer. The first surface water treatment came out in 1989. We had a lot of reservoirs in the city that it basically said you can't have open reservoirs where runoff comes in and you got birds flying or animals around once you've treated it. So we had to cover reservoirs. The first one we did was Hollywood Reservoir, and we replaced.
So in '89 was when that regulation was passed?
Yes.
Okay.
But they give us time to comply, and it took a while. So Toyon, 2 30-million-gallon tanks, and Hollywood serves the central city area. Encino, a 3 billion-gallon reservoir that served the South San Fernando Valley. As you can see how the water can degrade being out there like that. And here's Lower Stone that serves the west side. And these were taken out, and the dates, the year shown is the date it was taken out. Now, taking the reservoirs out isn't just the business. Here's Silver Lake, although it's not one of the first surface water treatment rules, we took it out of service in 2008. But we didn't, you might be thinking we lost resiliency, redundancy by taking these out. We didn't. We did east-west pipelines and we came to smaller reservoirs and more pipelines. For example, Silver Lake here is supplied from the valley. It's backed up from Eagle Rock, but today I can move water from Hollywood to Silver Lake. I can move water from Bel Air to Silver Lake, and this is a critical area because it supplies the Central City area. Just when we thought we were done, they came out with a new regulation that said you can't have any reservoir, even if it's exposed and it's got rainwater coming in or birds flying over it, so it got more stringent. And one of the first reservoirs we took out was in the west side in Palisades, San Ynez. And then we took out Ivanhoe, which we had the shade balls on it for about 6 years. We replaced Ivanhoe with Headworks, a combined 110 million gallon reservoir. And then here's Elysian, a 50 million gallon reservoir that serves downtown, serves JFB. And that was covered by a floating cover. And then Upper Stone, and that was negotiated with the community, the green color. Upper Stone was covered with a floating cover. We also built a UV plant as part of the regulation because we had to target organisms are Giardia and Cryptosporidium parasites, and those are target organisms. And we had to cut back ozonation at the filter plant. We had to build a UV plant to meet new regulations. And the grand finale of projects to make to comply with all these regulations is a LA Reservoir ultraviolet filtration plant, which got completed in January, and we'll be dedicating this soon, and they're trying to figure out what date. It wasn't just the surface water treatment rule. They came out with another regulation called disinfection byproduct, and it's something to do with adding chlorine and algae blooms, and that creates byproducts. It's like taking a medicine and you got side effects. So they said you got to reduce the side effects. We installed the shade balls on LA Reservoir. What that did, LA used to have continuous algae blooms. The water wants to turn green, and you can't serve that water. So we combat algae blooms with chlorine. We were putting 15,000 pounds of chlorine in the reservoir. That's a lot of chlorine. A bottle of bleach has half a pound of chlorine. So that's a relative magnitude we used to put. When we put the shade balls, we stopped using chlorine, and half the city's chlorine demand was going in this reservoir. So we made a huge improvement by putting these shade balls on. And I think in a couple of years, it's been on about 8 years, in a couple of years it'll pay for itself. We also converted to a milder form of disinfectant. It's chlorine and ammonia called chloramines, and that lasts longer in the system.
Yeah, can I ask you one other question? Sorry about the
Sure.
shade balls. There's also I think a reduction in the loss of evaporation as a result. Is that in the 8-year calculation, or is the 8-year calculation just chlorine?
I'm just a chlorine guy, and it is. I did not factor that in. I could have, but you save 300 million gallons of evaporation. I mean, it's been a point they emphasize, but the city's demand daily is 300-400 MGD, million gallons a day. So it's nothing to me, but it is something, and I could have factored it in, but I didn't.
Okay.
So we spent about $1.5 billion over 20 years. We got floating covers, UV plants, and pipelines. A lot of pipelines I didn't talk about. What we ended up at the end of the day is we do a lot of water quality tests, but the most important point on the slide is substantial. We got our regulations. They're called maximum contaminant levels. We're at least 50% below that, and we're doing really good. And on the customer front, we've reduced customer complaints by 72%. When you don't have bad pipelines, you don't have reservoirs with green water that's going out, and then you have to explain that, you've got customer benefits. And overall, the city, the water quality we provide the city is equitable. Everyone in the city gets about equal water quality. So here's our complaint chart. As you can see, from 2000 till now, we've dropped about 72%, and that's some of the regulations on the chart. And, you know, over the last 20 years, we spent $1.5–2 billion improving water quality, but at the same time, you have the bottled water revolution at the markets going on. And now we're in a position to backpedal and show our customers the water quality is good and where we're going. We do water quality testing. We've got our annual consumer confidence report. The new one's going to come out soon. We do lip sampling. We've got a customer-facing webpage. We've got a hotline. Anyone that has a problem with water quality at home, they can call us. We can troubleshoot over the phone. And if we think it's something serious, we'll go out and sample. We're working on a hydration initiative program that the mayor initiated. We're doing over 200 drinking fountains at rec and parks, convention center, and at the GSD General Services buildings in the city. We've got community partnership grants with Coalition of Mexican Federations and WeTap. They're doing customer outreach for us. And last summer, we did Skid Row cooling centers. We provided the water free for misting centers and providing water to homeless individuals. Okay, so all this didn't happen on their own. Number one, State Water Resources Division Drinking Water gave us a 14-year extension to comply with these regulations. This city had so much open reservoirs, I can almost guess that we had the most in the United States. It took us 14 years to comply with some we should have complied 14 years ago. All divisions were involved, communication, public affairs. We've got grants and loans from the feds and the state, or we couldn't have done this in 2008-10. We were getting low interest money to push these projects, and that was right in the middle of all of it. And then customers, stakeholders. We've worked with all the Silver Lake community, Encino, Stone, all the neighborhood councils over the many years to achieve all these projects. And that concludes my presentation. You know, we had supply chain, PCM involved, so everyone on board. So for the last 20 years, I mean, Marty's fingerprints are all over these projects and Anselmo's. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I just have more of an overarching question with the Biden Infrastructure Act, right? There's a lot of monies involved in taking the lead out of our water.
Yeah.
How do we foresee tapping more resources from that funding? Is there a plan? Are we looking to having an action plan on removal of lead or any other infrastructure that we can use those funding for?
Yeah, we have regulatory affairs in my group that follows all that closely. So any funding that can be tapped for our customers we're looking for that. But as far as lead goes for the department, we've removed all the lead on our side. When we sample, our water doesn't have lead. But when you go on site, you do have some lead hits. But the West Coast is different from East Coast. Biden's monies, you know, they're very clear. On the East Coast, they have completely a lead water line that feeds the house 100% lead. Over here, we don't have that. We have faucets with some lead content. We've got meters with some lead content, which we've removed mostly. And then you got some solder and copper that's got lead content. So the content of lead on this side of the United States is much less, and we're typically below the regulations. So I hope, you know, I'd like to see all customers, especially galvanized pipe that, you know, in underrepresented community, the galvanized pipes need to go. If there's money for that, we need to tap it. But it's not complete, you know, what's coming out of Biden administration isn't completely clear yet. If there is, we'll be pursuing it.
Or your successor will.
My successor,
Jonathan?
yes. That's
I'm looking
Jonathan.
at you.
Simba will handle it.
Simba will handle it. We have codes here. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Raz.
You're welcome.
So just one thing to let you know. So we are looking at a dedication for the LAR UV plant that Raz mentioned. I believe right now we're looking at May 2nd, Joe. that tentative date. So once we get that solidified with all the other folks that are being invited, we'll let the board know. And if you happen to have an opportunity to stop by, it will be great.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Will it be named for someone?
Not at this point, no.
My name's available.
Thank you, Rez.
Thank you, Russ. So we're going to item number 2, the presentation regarding injury rates and reduction strategies.
So presenting today will be Dan Ashelman. He was recently promoted to one of our higher level electric service managers. He's with Power System Safety and Training, so he will discuss the injury rates and strategies to reduce them. I believe this may be his first presentation. Be gentle with him because he's got a long career ahead of him.
Thank you, Reiko. Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. And yeah, I
Welcome
am
on
one of those new faces, right, that were discussed. So
All right.
yeah, I'm glad to be here. And also the name you see up there, Nazir Fazli, I work very closely with him, and we look forward and thank the board for taking this presentation and the board's interest in our employees' safety. So with that, we'll go into our presentation on injury rates and reduction strategies. So in this slide here, this is from our last presentation to the board. We presented some of our SMART goals to improve safety performance and reduce injury rates and lower workers' comp costs throughout LADWP. Today's presentation is an update to that effort that we are engaging at Safety. And the Office of Corporate Health and Safety has worked very closely with personnel and met with executives in the AGM level to start this with all of these divisions that you see represented here on this slide. And just in those meetings, we discussed injury rates and some of the reduction strategies moving forward. And it's some of the details that we covered in that data was specifics around the injuries, where the injuries occurred, the specific employee groups that they were occurring to, who got injured. We looked at the details around why it occurred and really dove down into specific types of injuries that our employees were receiving. It's important to note as we look at these rates here, these are useful for comparison with other utilities and also useful for comparison within the department as we look at other divisions. But what we needed to do is do a deeper dive into the data. So what we're going to show here in the rest of this presentation is specific injury data. And it's also important to note that these divisions here that we see represented, they have some of the greatest challenges that they face with the types of work they do and the very broad spectrum of hazards that they faced associated with this work. This slide here is the SMS, stands for the Safety Management System that Nazir Fazli presented last year. And this is really, it revolves around this plan, do, check, act cycle. It's a systematic approach based on this SMS plan, and it was developed by, like I said, Nazir Fazli, who is our Chief Safety Officer. In the past, we have taken an umbrella approach as a company, and what we want to do now is have specific data-based solutions. We want to look at the reasons and try to focus our efforts so that they're not diluted. In this new approach, it really required us to do a deep dive into data in a way that we haven't done before and look at these specifics with the injuries. So right now, we're currently in phase 1 of this, which is the planning stage. And during that stage, like we already said, we met with the AGMs that represented each one of these divisions and the systems that they oversee with water, power, and joint. From there, we shared the injury details, and then we got their support in those meetings and also met with the directors that represented those 5 divisions that we saw on the earlier slide. And in each one of these steps, we shared data and got the strong support and commitment of managers and executives at every one of these meetings. We really see the next step for us moving forward out of this is engaging our most valuable asset, which is our employees. And we want to do that with labor as well. And we see that being essential is that we need to better understand the challenges that they face and the things that they deal with on a daily basis. So we hope to, and out of that plan, come up with, or out of that meeting, excuse me, a plan that comes up with solutions to the challenges they face, but in a way that's a little different than we've done in the past. We want those solutions to be tied to the data that we found. And so that, again, we're not diluting our efforts, but we're really meeting with them and including them in the process and developing steps to move forward. And we want those solutions to be measurable, which is another thing that we haven't always taken into account in the past. If we can't measure our solutions, we don't know how effective they are. So as we measure those solutions, as we follow ourselves around in this plan, do, check, act cycle, we see how effective they are, and that gives us the opportunity to adjust. Some of them we hope will be successful right out of the gate, and we can broaden our usage of those and maybe find other areas that they can be effective. If we have solutions that aren't as effective, we can make adjustments there. Really, the thing that ties this plan together is what you see in the center. It's continuous improvement. This is a cyclical process. We don't really see this ever ending, but we have to always be engaging our employees, managers, and in a safety-focused way. Just to give a brief example of this, one of the groups that we looked at, just to walk you through this process, we saw a large number of knee injuries. So we engage managers with those knee injury stats. We talk with them, develop solutions, engage the employees, come up with those solutions in a way that we can measure them, and then implement those, check them to see how effective they are, and then circle back around and make adjustments as needed, with the end goal being 0 knee injuries. We have done this with these 5. Our hope is to grow this again, right, with every division within the Department of Water and Power. The next slide, we're going to share some of the information, some of the specifics that we shared at the AGM level and also with executive management. So what we're looking at here is a snapshot of the power system. The boxed in areas show the data of the divisions that were focused for us. And let's just take a look at power transmission and distribution. For example, we see in the yellow bar 147 injuries. Again, these are specific injuries that were workers' comp cases. In the gray bar next to that, those are the injuries that rose to the level where we had to report it or record it with Cal OSHA. So generally the threshold for that is those injuries go beyond normal first aid. It's just to give, talk about exposure hours here. It's important to just highlight that exposure hours and high hazard work, they can often account for these higher rates of injuries, as in the case that we just highlighted with PTD. They fare reasonably well, even though they've faced the hazards of working with live electricity and working at extreme heights. This next slide shows some of the data that we covered with the water system. In the boxed area, that is water distribution. And as with all these slides, and it shows that, and as with all these divisions, right, the hazards can vary pretty broadly. In some groups, the hazards can be more predictable, while in other groups that work in public areas around traffic, for example, the hazards they face can be more dynamic. And the measures that we need to mitigate those can be more challenging, but we strongly believe all the hazards can be mitigated through careful planning. This slide, we see joint system, and what we have boxed in is meter services and field ops. Again, the green bar there shows the workers' comp cases, and the gray shows the actual cases that we had to report or record with Cal OSHA. And we're going to use this as a little bit of an example to show kind of the drill down that we've done into these data specifics. So as we look now, we're looking specifically at meter services and field ops, and this tells us kind of the who of the injuries, right? This shows us a specific classification of employees that have the greatest challenges, and their injury numbers reflect some of those challenges. We hope to use this as to further, again, drill down and see where we need to focus our efforts. This next slide, we look a little bit closer and identify, where or to what part of the body those injuries are happening. We see that, the foot injuries and back injuries are a real challenge for this group. And we are slicing the data down even further than we're doing here. We're looking at other key points, such as, the work locations, the age of our employees, years of service. That metric really speaks to the experience our employees have. And that can help us target additional measures like training, right? As we have new employees come on board and people promote into supervisory roles, it helps us structure training and resources to help them be safe and successful in the roles that we put them in.
And you're just showing here the specific body parts, but they can also be combined, right? One person can have a foot and a back injury at the same time.
Yeah, that's correct. That's right. There's some metrics that we have that show multiple, but right, this breaks it down. This metric that we're viewing.
Just break it down by body part, okay.
Yes, it's by specific body part. Thank you. This next one shows us, as we look at those specific body parts like back and foot, we now see that the injuries they're sustaining, most common is a strain injury, followed by bites and stings and sprains as we work on down. This really helps us to focus our effort on where, when we engage our employees and have that discussion, we can talk through, they're going to know very well and best how they receive these injuries and be able to help us talk through the challenges they face. So we see this as being one of the key elements as we engage our employees and labor. This next slide shows a few of the images that just kind of depicts the challenges. Again, this is meter services and field ops that we're looking at. These are the challenges that our employees face that as they daily go out there and read our customers' meters. We can see that, for example, overgrown shrubs where they have to be able to see that meter to get an accurate read on it. And there could be, hidden things, maybe sharp things like broken glass, for example, or insects in there that could translate into some of those sting injuries. Uneven footing, crowded meter rooms, side yards that have a lot of obstacles that they need to navigate to get around. So this is a good snapshot of some of the challenges that they do have, and we want to work through each one of these. And this is a kind of a drill down into meter services and field ops. We will not only be doing this with all the other 5 divisions that were mentioned here, but really our hope is, like we said, to grow this across the entire department for all of our employees.
And I encourage you to take this time to highlight other areas like street services and sanitation that SUSANA should hear about now. That could, like one of these photos, definitely it looks like we could use some street services support.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that is good, right? These are the public areas that our employees have to walk over. And we do see that there is a lot of, that translates directly into a lot of these injuries that we see. So not only for our employees, but also for the public. So thank you for that comment. It just, like we said, we want to do this with all 5 divisions and really do a deep dive into this, right? We have corporate health and safety that can put together reports and do job audits that come up with this kind of information and give some detailed information back to the divisions with solutions that they can implement right away. So this takes us to our next steps. We are transitioning as a company from being reactive and compliance-based to being proactive and risk management focused. We want to transition from a compliance culture that is moved merely by external motivators to a culture that internalizes safety with our management and our employees. And we want those to be values that all of our employees here have. So what we've shared is kind of where, in this presentation up to this point, is kind of where we're starting, things that we have done, and a little bit of direction on where we are going. Some of it is looking back. Obviously, the data that we covered and shared here was from 2021, that 12-month period. But we also want to work on focusing on our existing leading indicators and taking advantage of new opportunities and new strategies, which include, like listed here, communication. We see that as essential. We want to communicate in some of the traditional ways that we have been through safety meetings and JLMs, and we see those coming back even now as we're transitioning out of the COVID period. Those are invaluable meetings for our employees. But we also want to leverage technology and getting information out in real time through safety communications. There's, in many areas now, there's safety communication boards that sends updates as soon as they're available or at areas that employees report to, and they can see that information in real time. Another area that we're also transitioning from is safety investigations. In the past have been done kind of looking at maybe who made an error or did something wrong, but now we're reformatting those into incident learnings. As a department, we want to use those as opportunities to learn and grow and gather every bit of information that we can from these unfortunate incidents and move forward with a main focus on preventing reoccurrence. Crew visits, we see that as with a focus not only on improving safety conditions, but identifying and correcting unsafe behaviors, and doing so in a way that opens lines of communication between our supervisors and our employees. They see that as an opportunity to move forward in safety. Job hazard analysis with a focus on the work being performed, the hazards involved, and mitigation techniques, and teaching our employees how to identify those hazards so that things aren't being missed. That is their best and first opportunity to correct these hazards. Job safety audits, we've kind of touched on that with corporate health and safety. They perform these regularly. They have a lot of information on how to do that, and they provide valuable reports out of those audits. But also they are actively leveraging new technology. They have a new motion capture technology that can be used simply by an employee recording with a mobile device, a video. It goes through that video, it goes through the software, and it can capture field ergo techniques and show the employees in ways that they can make improvements to that. And it shows them specific parts of their body that are being strained or where they may be receiving injuries. So it's a good coaching tool for our employees and a way to use technology for that. Safety meetings that share, information of past accidents. We do engage in those frequently. But we want those to be a place of meaningful discussion for our employees, a venue for interaction and a conversation. We're looking always at new training opportunities, like using technology as an additional format. We're looking for on-demand training opportunities, and some of that has been created through Cornerstone, but we're also looking for additional ways. We see that as being especially useful in some of these complex tasks that our employees perform and then they're not performed on a regular basis. They can pull that training up on demand, review each step in that process immediately prior to them, executing that task. So this kind of wraps up our presentation. We see this, again, tied together by the process our focus is continuous improvement. And we enter this cycle, we don't expect to ever leave this, but we always want to be doing better. And really our end goal through all of this is zero injuries. So thank you again for this opportunity, commissioners. And are there any questions?
Yeah. How do you test for lead in the pipes at schools?
So and maybe someone could comment more on that if it's water, but I know our corporate health and safety has a laboratory and they do sampling and lead tests in various ways, but is it in water pipes specifically that you're talking about?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Like water fountains.
Maybe I can help answer.
Okay, thank you.
So the LA Unified School District, they've actually done 3 rounds now of comprehensive testing of every faucet, every fixture at every school. COVID recently hit, so it kind of slowed their current charge down, but we are encouraged when we have discussions with them. They do have, I think, one of the leading programs in the nation as far as they're now on their 4th round of sampling, and they have infrastructure goals where any hits that they have, they want to be able to reduce. The US EPA has a lead action level 15 part per billion, but the LA Unified School District has actually set a goal where they want to be at 5 part per billion or below at every fixture. So to the extent that we can offer certain technical assistance with them, we have like an X-ray diffraction tool and our own sampling teams, we do that, but they also hire their own independent teams to do the majority of their lead sampling over the years. But they've been at this now for over 3 decades.
So they test the water fountains.
That's correct.
At all the schools.
That's correct.
And that's throughout LAUSD.
Right, yes.
Okay.
And they actually provide notices to the parents and to the principals of their results and outcomes. So I think they've been pretty good at testing and communicating.
And Jonathan, this is the result of not only the awareness they had, but they did a major effort to change out fixtures and plumbing and perfect their flushing programs and things like that, correct? So the problems that we knew historically have been largely resolved to our knowledge?
Right, exactly. There's infrastructure upgrades, which typically take a little bit more time and cost, but there's also a lot of awareness. So that they know if they look at like on a larger campus, there might be legs of that campus where the water doesn't circulate very well. And so anytime you have those kind of stagnant conditions, that's when you can get more aggressive corrosion and the corrosion accumulating. So they've taken that to heart. They have flushing programs. They also isolate certain fixtures and put in filters. So they're using multifold strategies to really get everything at their school. And again, I would compliment them that they're trying to be a leadership role. They're trying to get 5 part per billion or lower while the rest of the nation is at 15.
Do you recommend that in the morning, before we make our coffee, that we run water in our pipes?
Well, it would depend on the material. So I think, again, as Raz mentioned earlier, what we do offer for our customers, they call us, we can help them diagnose and troubleshoot on the phone. If it leads to it, we will actually do free sampling and site assessments for them. So I think that's a great kind of customer service feature that we provide for our customers. So really, Commissioner, I think the main way to know, unless you're not like a plumbing expert and watch a lot of videos and kind of know what your material is, you can get that sample. So that's another way to confirm that there's no lead material in the customer side of the meter and that plumbing. And I think If the result came back high, then you would maybe look at some mitigation strategies that might include putting on a in-house filter unit, like at the sink, or doing some flushing. Those are different ways that, as a customer, you can protect yourself to make sure that you or your family or your occupants aren't being exposed to any lead.
One recommendation, Commissioner, is that if you do feel you need to flush your pipes at home, you may want to collect that water and probably use it for the plants or something. You know, especially being that we're in a drought, I think the idea is to conserve as much as we can.
So in order to get your home water tested, potentially, you call 213-367-3182?
Exactly, yes, that's our water quality hotline.
Oh,
If they call 1-800-LADWP, I think we have enough communication with our our customer service center they would refer to, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the safety, thank you. Thank you on the safety. Did I miss sort of a general idea of how many injuries you might have had in a quarter? Just a general idea. It seems like you were very thorough about trying to sort of educate and understand what the issues are. I figured the right shoes make a big difference. Whenever I think about what and also people are well fed and sleep well, they're probably more mindful. But what is the level of injury, and has it changed over the last 10 years based on what you've learned?
So I don't have the 10-year data, but I know in the last presentation that was shared about 5-year data, and it has been fairly static. There was a decline, as we came into the COVID years, but it's been fairly static. So now this is what has kind of initiated this targeted approach to really drill down in the data and see why we've remained static and look at what we need to do to move forward and see those injury rates decline.
Any deaths?
They're within the department for employees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, doing the hard work.
Unfortunately, we have had a fatality last year in the power system.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That was interesting and meaningful. I'm sure that the employees feel that the department is doing all they can to keep them safe. That's clear.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we do feel that they are our most valuable asset, and that is, it's important to engage them in this process. So thank you.
Any other questions about this presentation from our commissioners? So I just have one, which is on the cost. Do we publish the cost per injury? So at least there is an awareness of the prevention measures that we're undertaking, because it's also a strategy to think about what's it costing the department, to mitigate, prevent those injuries.
I'm not aware if we publish them or not. I know that internally we are starting to look at those numbers, and we really see two major components of that: the direct costs associated with these injuries, and then the indirect costs associated with the injuries. And that is as we start to look at all the elements that an indirect cost impacts, it's harder to get a direct number on that, but we are starting to look at that, and that is something we can look a little bit deeper into as well.
I think if there's an update on another presentation, or like an updated presentation later on, that would be a good information or set of data to present to the board.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we will look into that.
Thank you so much.
If I could comment on that.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Besides drilling down in these areas where safety has identified the high levels of injuries and really drill down to exactly what's happening. Besides that, they're also taking a fresh look at workers' comp claims, which is exactly to what you ask, what you ask about is the cost of these injuries and where we have repeat claims and issues. And so there's a lot of drill down going on that with all of Nazir's team. And so we'll have more on that later. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our management reports. I think we are, our agenda, right? We're complete.
Make sure we close session.
We're going into closed session. Joe?
At this point, we will recess in a closed session to address the items on the closed session agenda, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we'll report any final actions taken therein. Commissioner, how long would you like to recess before we reconvene into closed session?
I'll ask my colleagues, 15-minute break. We'll take a 15-minute break and then convene for closed session.
Great. We are in recess then till 12:10.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please maintain silence until recording has concluded.